Have you ever worked for a leader where you just never knew what to expect? One day something was a big deal, and the next day it wasn't. One employee was held accountable, another wasn't. One decision followed the standard, the next one pretty much ignored it. That's obviously inconsistency. And I believe it's one of the fastest ways to erode trust as a leader. Most leaders don't wake up and decide that I'm going to be inconsistent. Life gets busy. People make exceptions. We try to avoid conflict. Sometimes we give someone a pass because they're a high performer. Sometimes we let something slide because we're just exhausted. You know, those decisions might seem small in the moment, but your team is paying attention. People watch what leaders tolerate far more than they listen to what their leaders say. You can stand in front of your team and talk about accountability all day long, but if your actions don't match your words, your actions will always win. So, something I learned is every exception teaches a lesson. The question is, what lesson are you teaching? If you ignore missed deadlines, you're teaching that deadlines are pretty flexible. If you allow disrespect from top performers, you're teaching that results matter more than character. If you enforce a standard only when it's convenient, you're teaching that the standard really isn't a standard. Culture is built by repetition, not intention, right? The behaviors you consistently reinforce become your culture. The behaviors you're consistently ignoring become your culture too. That's why inconsistency is so expensive. It creates confusion. It weakens the accountability. It frustrates your strongest employees. And over time, it damages your credibility. Now, to be clear, consistency doesn't mean you never show grace. Good leaders absolutely extend grace. People make mistakes, life happens. Grace has a place in leadership, but grace should never replace standards, and it should never depend on who the person is. Your team can understand compassion, they struggle to understand favoritism. You know, one builds trust, the other destroys it. So, the challenge for this is think about one standard you've communicated to your team. Now, ask yourself honestly, if someone observed my leadership for the past 30 days, would they believe I truly value that standard? Or would it conclude that it's only important when it's convenient? Leadership isn't just about setting standards, it's about living them consistently. And in the end, your consistency will always speak louder than your intentions. Thanks for watching. This is another Leadership Minute by Hydelogix. Better thinking, better leaders, better futures.